we have to understand, which takes us to the second part of war victims. We said that there will be casualties. We said there will be those who will become perpetual slaves. But then, under those who are perpetual slaves, there are those who will escape. And that takes us to 2E, war escapees. Talking about war victim, I want to remind you of one, the little maid in 2 Kings 5, 1-3. Now, 2E, war escapees. These are individuals who successfully flee captivity or dangerous conflict zone. In the story we read today, a man escaped. We can refer to him as a war escapee. He's the one who came to tell Abraham about his brother that was held captive. The Bible makes us to understand that he was an Amorite, the brother of Eshcol and brother of Anna, a neighbor of Abraham. So what escapees, they make history. So that is why you can see the history here, making reference to him, his background, where he stays, how he got connected to Abraham, whom he went to give information to. Now we go to D. War escapees often turn informants. War escapees often turn informants. When they escape, they have seen the war. They saw what happened. Remember Amasa that ran to the king, that saw how Absalom was killed? He ran, but because he didn't have a message, Joab told him not to give a message, he stepped aside. Those are war informants. They have information. They saw the war happening. Most times, people don't live to tell the story. But informants, those who escape from the war, are the lucky ones that are saved, and they're saved from becoming casualty, they're saved from being perpetual slaves, and they take the information of what has happened to people that are relevant. So they become informants. That takes us to D1. D1, informant. Who is an informant? An informant in the context of discussion this morning is a war escapee turned informant, an individual whose experiences at the war front becomes relevant to others for intelligence to opposing parties or those who are deliverers, in quotes, as Abraham turned out to become. The second part of that is, okay, all right, D is actually, okay, war escapees turned informants. All right, while D2 is the definition of an informant. Sorry, I mixed it up. Now, when we go to E part. The E part talks about information. The war escapee came with information. Father Abraham, your brother Lot, has been taken captive. So an informant comes with information. A person who gives information to another is an informant. An informant is a person who provides information about a person, activity, or event, usually under a request for confidentiality. I'm giving you this information, please don't tell anybody I told you. Why? Because they don't want the security to be compromised. They don't want people to know that they let the cat out of the bag. So they protect their safety through confidentiality. That is an informant. That is what distinguishes an informant from somebody who is just talking. Somebody who is talking is not after his identity being protected. He owns up to what he says and they can repeat it anyway. But informants, they protect their confidentiality because of the sensitivity of the information they're given. I want you to take note of that because we're coming back to that. Now we go to the F part, war information. What is war information about? It is the situation report at the war front. If you remember, during the battle of King Saul versus the Philistines that involved David and Goliath, The father of David sent him to the war front to check the welfare of his brothers so that he can know the situation at the war front. David was to take back the situation report on the war to his father. All the father didn't know was that God was using him to take the deliverer of Israel to the war front. So rather than coming back to give his father information about the situation report, the father had sang, he had people singing the praise of his son, how he killed Goliath and all of that. So war information is about the situation report at war. And if you remember very well, when any war is ongoing, there are reporters that feed the world the news. At least we've lived to experience some wars. So war information is key for people to know what is happening so that they can begin to prepare for reinforcement for those who are involved in the war from their own base, and to prepare and for other nations to guide their territory from infiltration or of spread of the war. That is the importance of war information. Now we go to the G part. 2G. The informed. Who are the people informed about war situation? The general public. In this information age is the general public. But in time past, it is people that matters, as it were in the story. But people who are informed of the information are people who have knowledge of the situation at hand. And why do they choose such people? That is the importance of this information before I go to why they choose those people for being the custodian of war information. Now, the informed in this age are now not just the policy makers, it is everybody. That is the beauty of information age. If you don't get information, it is because you didn't look for information. There's nothing that I got caught up in the war front. No, because prior to the time the war takes off fully, information is all over the place. We remember Russia, how they moved out people from various nations before the war proper started. So anyone being caught up is somebody who did not hear the information, get information, or refuse to act on the information. So war information saves lives and helps those who want to win to re-strategize and plan to win. The informed are the people who get the information, 2G, because the knowledge is common knowledge in this information age, but in the times of Abraham, as it were in time past, it was for selected few. Now that takes us to 2H, the select stature of the informed. You see, the stature of the informed talks about the people who have the privilege to have information. So that means in time past, information that is now a commodity used to be a privilege. The informed were chosen by their stature. And what is the stature they look out for? They give information only to people with authority. Information is given to people with authority. Information is given with people that can process the information and make use of the information for the betterment of mankind. Information, the stature of people given information, are people who have the assets to control the situation, as it were in the case of Abraham, who had 318 servants that were trained before the war to go for the war. They were prepared. So people who have first-hand information are people who are prepared, that people know that this person is ever ready. Nobody will bring information to somebody that is a mediocre. Nobody will give valuable information like the information of war to a man that is known to be of no value to the system. But the time of Abraham was sought and given the information, not only because he was a relative of Lot, but because he was an authority in his society, not just an authority, a man that is prepared for inevitable occurrences. So if you want to have information, you have to be ready you have to position yourself as so that people will know that this person is an information ready person. An information ready person, like we just said, has the so aforementioned stature.